Hello students, my name is Kevin. Welcome back to the practicum video of electric motor and drive subject. In this video, we will discuss about practicum module 4. Basically, we have 3 segments in this module. First, we will discuss about Y delta starter of 3-phase AC motor. Second, we will measure power factor of 1-phase AC motor. And third, we will conduct an experiment to get a characteristic graph of a DC motor. Before we begin with Y delta starter circuit, take a look at 3-phase AC motor name tag. This is the same motor as we used in module 3. As you can see in here, you can see how many poles in this motor, the power of this motor in HP unit and also kilowatt unit, the frequency, the RPM, and pay attention at delta configuration and also Y configuration in here. The voltage and ampere of delta configuration and voltage and ampere of Y configuration. Pay attention at the current. The current of delta configuration is always bigger than the current of Y configuration. Although the voltage of delta configuration is smaller, but the current is always higher. That's why we always avoid delta configuration while starting the motor. Do you still remember? Delta configuration produced 18 times in rush current. Therefore, we don't like to start the motor in delta configuration. Another example. This is the name tag of 3-phase AC motor that we have in dynamic laboratory. Look at the current and also voltage of Y and delta configuration. Delta is 31 ampere, meanwhile Y is 18 ampere. The current of delta configuration always bigger than Y configuration, although the voltage of delta configuration is smaller than Y configuration. Back to our motor. Do you still remember from the previous module? In module 3, we only use one cable out. Inside the cable, you will have 3 small cable. Red, brown, and black cable represents the coil of our AC motor. But in module 4, we should use 2 cables out. Because in module 4, we want to create Y and delta circuit in the same time. Later, we will discuss in detail about Y and delta circuit. Inside the cable, there are 3 small cable that like I have already shown you before. Red, brown, and black cable represents the coil of our motor. Each coil will have 2 coil ends. That's why in here you will see 6 pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pin to represent the end of each coil. For example, this pin and this pin represents the end of U coil. This pin and this pin represents the end of V coil, and the last one represents the W coil. Let's try it with buzzer. If the buzzer sound, then it should be 1 coil. For example, I want to try this pin and this pin, and you don't hear anything, and then I move to here. Do you hear? Yes, the buzzer sound, which means this pin and this pin represents one coil. Another, we move to here, and it doesn't sound. And here, yes, it sound. Once again, if the buzzer sound, then the pin represents one coil. And in here and in here, the last coil. After that, we should check the connection between white cable and black cable. Why? Please imagine. For example, white cable represents the first coil end. Meanwhile, the black cable represents the second coil end. So, red cable in here should be connected with red cable in here, right? Because red cable represents U coil. So, if I attach buzzer in here and in here, it should be sound, right? Let's try it with buzzer. Red cable in white and red cable in black. Can you hear that? The buzzer sound, right? So it should be connected. Red cable in white is connected with red cable in black. Let's try another. Brown and brown. It's also sound. For example, this is represents V coil. And the last one, black with black. It's also sound. Represents W coil. And we also should check the cross. For example, red in white with brown in black. The buzzer doesn't sound. And it should be not sound. And with black also doesn't sound. So the configuration or the cabling inside the motor is correct. You can use it for Y and delta starter in our module experiment. This is Y delta starter circuit, and we will create the circuit in the same laboratory apparatus that we have already used it in module 3. In here, you see the complete circuit of Y delta starter circuit, and we will learn about it. In Y delta starter circuit, we will need two contactors. The first contactor for delta circuit and the second contactor for Y circuit. Based on module 3, you have already know that if we need two contactors, then what kind of control circuit that we need? Yes, we will need switch control circuit. That's why from control circuit breaker, you see that the cable or the control circuit breaker is connected to the middle leg of the switch. The right leg of the switch is connected to coil contactor 1. The left leg of the switch is connected to coil contactor 2 at the back here. And remember, the other end of coil contactor should be connected with the neutral terminal. That's why, as you can see in here, the blue cable of coil contactor is connected back to the PLN neutral terminal. Here, the same as coil contactor 2. In here, blue cable, neutral, connected to the neutral PLN. Before we move to the load circuit, take a look at the diagram on your module. This is the diagram. The upper diagram is for Y circuit and the lower diagram for delta circuit. First, take a look at the Y circuit diagram. Y circuit diagram is actually quite easy, quite simple, because as you can see in here, each coil should get different voltage line. For example, U1 is connected to R, V1 is connected to S, and W1 is connected to T. And the other coil ends, U2, V2, and W2 is connected each other. You just jumper the other or the second coil ends. Finish. So the important thing is you connect each other on the second coil ends, and for the first coil ends get different voltage line, R, S, and T, U1, V1, and W1. Meanwhile for delta circuit, it's quite complicated. But the important thing is each coil should get two different voltage line. As you can see from here, U1 and U2 different voltage line. U1 is connected to R, U2 is connected to T. The same in here, V1 connected to S, V2 connected to R. W1 T, W2 S. That's the important thing to create delta circuit. From here, take a look. For example, U1, V1, and W1 is connected to R, S, and T. And to create each coil to get different voltage line, you just need to shift all the voltage line. You can shift up or you can shift down. It doesn't matter, because the important thing is each coil get different voltage line. Take a look. U coil, U1 get T and U2 get, U1 get R, U2 get T. V1 get S, V2 get R. W1 get T, meanwhile W2 get S. So basically you shift up, U2 shift up and then connect it to T. V2 shift up and it will get R. W2 shift up and it will get S. Let's look at the real circuit. As we have already checked before, black cable and white cable represent each coil ends. First, we will take a look or understand the Y circuit. Take a look over here. For example, the black cable is the first coil ends, so we can name it as U1, V1, and W1. You see in here, brown, red, and black. Brown, red, and black. So for example, we name this as U1, V1, and W1. Okay, it connected to the circuit breaker. So it will be the same. U1, V1, W1, R, S, and T. We don't change anything. As you can see in here, brown with brown, red with red, black with black. So we don't change anything. Okay, and then black cable goes to the motor and comes out. The second coil ends is the white cable. In the white cable, connected to the contactor 1 and also contactor 2 is the same sequence, right? Brown, red, and black. U, V, and W. And as we have already discussed in the diagram, the second coil ends is connected each other if you want to create Y circuit. That's why, as you can see in the second conductor, you see we jump each other. Do you still remember? Terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3, terminal 4, terminal 5, and terminal 6. If the coil contactor is energized, then it will be all becomes normally closed. So in here we connect each other. U2, V2, W2 connected each other, and we finish to create the Y circuit. Why we should connected each other in here? Why we don't just connect it over there? Because we need to use the contactor. Imagine if you directly connect each other coil ends in here, then if you turn on the circuit breaker, the motor is already running. We don't need to turn on or energize the coil contactor, and the motor is already on. We don't like that condition because it doesn't save for us. We need the contactor to control the motor, and if we order or we command to turn on, then the contactor will turn on the motor. Okay, and then the second, delta configuration. For delta configuration, it's the same. This is the first coil ends, U1, V1, and W1. We don't change anything in here. Brown with brown, red with red, and black with black. So basically, R with U1, S with V1, and T with W1. And then we move to the second coil ends in here, the back here, brown, red, and black. So it means U2, V2, and W2. And take a look over here. Take a look the sequence over here. In here, the voltage line, I connect the voltage line directly from the circuit breaker. So that means brown, red, and black, R, S, and T. But in here, you see, I shift it up. In here, the black is the bottom one, but in here, brown is the middle one. So I shift it up all the voltage line. The sequence becomes black, brown, and red. The previous one is brown, red, and black. And right now it becomes black, brown, and red. So basically each coil will get different voltage, will get two different voltage line. U1 brown in here, U1 get R. Meanwhile, the U2, brown cable over here, U2 will get black, which means T. That's how you create a delta circuit. We have to make sure each coil get 2 different voltage line. Let's try our Y delta starter circuit. Before we start the experiment, we have to make sure whether the control circuit is working properly or not. That's why we have to try the switch control circuit first. We turn on the control circuit breaker, and for the middle position of the switch, the 2 contactor should be off. It's correct. And try to the lever to the left position. Contactor 1 is turned on. Lever to the right, contactor 2 is turned on. Back to the middle position, 2 contactor should be off. So our control circuit is okay. After that, we turn on the load circuit. To turn on the load circuit, we have to start with the Y circuit. We cannot directly start from the delta circuit. So which means we have to turn on the contactor 2 first. Contactor 2 will turn on if lever to the right. Okay. This is Y circuit. Turn off. Look at the rotation, it clockwise, right? And then turn on the delta. Turn off again. And the rotation is clockwise, which means our Y delta starter circuit is perfect. After that, we will measure the line current and also phase current. For line current is the current supplied by the grid or PLN. So we can measure the line current in here before the circuit breaker because it directly connect with the PLN or the grid. For the phase current is the current on the motor coils. So you can measure it in here, the black cable, because black cable represents the first coil end or the second, or white cable because it represents second coil ends. But right now I will measure it in here because it's easier. But basically if you measure it in here and you measure it over there, it will be the same because motor coils is one or the same. Let's try it with Y circuit. Y circuit. This is Y circuit and we will measure the current. For the first one is line current. R, line current is 0.7. And then S current line is 0.5. And T current line is 0.6. Okay, and then we try U phase current 0.6. And then V V phase current is 0.5. And then the last one is W. W phase current is 0.6. Okay. That's the measurement data. Analyze the measurement data and try to compare it with the theoretical value or theoretical value that you have already learned in the lecture. Okay, for the second measurement, we will measure line current and phase current for delta circuit. We start with the line current. R line current is 5.6 ampere. S current line is 5.2 ampere. And T line current is 5.6. Continue to the U coil or U phase current. U phase current is 3.5 ampere. And then V coil or V phase current is 3.3 ampere. And the last one, W phase current is 3.5 ampere. That's our measurement data. Try to analyze it and compare it with theoretical value that you have already learned in the lecture. This is the second segment of Practicum Module 4. In this segment, we want to measure the power factor of one-phase AC induction motor. Look at the diagram on your module. Before we measure the power factor, we have to know the phase difference between voltage and also current inside the motor. So for example, the blue graph in here is voltage signal. Meanwhile, the red graph in here is current signal. Later, we will discuss in detail how to determine the phase difference between volt and current signal. Look at this diagram. This is the diagram of our experiment. Basically, we want to connect the grid supply to our motor. And we want to measure the voltage and also current inside the motor by using oscilloscope. Oscilloscope cannot measure current. That's why we will utilize this R3, look at this, R3, and we will connect channel 2 oscilloscope parallel with the R3. R3 is 1 ohm, which means V equal I times by R. If R is equal to 1 ohm, then voltage is equal to I or current. So channel 2 basically is measure voltage, but voltage is equal to current inside the motor because R3 over here is only 1 ohm. Meanwhile in here, this circuit called as voltage divider. Why we have to use voltage divider? Because the voltage grid is 220 volt RMS, right? And the maximum voltage in the oscilloscope, maximum voltage in the oscilloscope is only 40 volt. That's why we have to utilize voltage divider in order to reduce the voltage flow to the channel 1 oscilloscope. This is the experiment result. The yellow graph in here represents voltage signal or channel 1. Meanwhile, the blue graph, channel 2, represents current signal flow through the motor. First, take a look at the voltage peak. Voltage peak or Vmax in here. Channel 1 voltage max is 29.6 volt. Channel 2 6.4 volt. But remember, because we use R3 is equal to 1 ohm, that's why channel 2 is equal to current. But oscilloscope only capable of measuring voltage. That's why in here the unit is always voltage. Back to channel 1. Vmax is 29.6 volt. Remember, we use the voltage divider. That's why the voltage flow to the oscilloscope is reduced. Move to the phase difference. In the module, you see the phase difference can be calculated by tau divided by T or period. Tau is the difference between the peak of the voltage signal and the peak of the current signal. So if you can see in here, this is the bottom. This is the bottom or the peak of voltage signal. Meanwhile, this is the location of the bottom or the peak of current signal. By using cursor in the oscilloscope, you can measure or you can know the difference, the time difference between both of them. As you can see in here, X1 to X2, you can see the cursor, the dashed line in here, the vertical dashed line, and the solid dashed line in here, which means the difference or the range is 3.2 millisecond. And for the T or the period, you know that the grid voltage is 50 Hz, right? Which means the period is 20 millisecond. So, to calculate the phase difference is 3.2 millisecond divided by 20 millisecond times by 360 degrees. And you get the phase difference. And to calculate the power factor, just cos the degree or the phase difference. Cos the phase difference. I will show you how to find the power factor and also electric power from the experiment data. But before that, take a look at the diagram. As you can see in here, we utilize 3 resistors, R1 and R2 for voltage divider circuit and also R3 in here. The value of each resistor is R1 is equal to 10 kilo ohm, R2 is 1 kilo ohm, and R3 is 1 ohm. Move to the table. For the first calculation, we want to calculate the voltage grid, which is equal to the voltage supplied to the electric motor or one-phase AC induction motor. Meanwhile, the V measured in here, this is the voltage, the amount of voltage measured by the oscilloscope. The V measured is not the same with the voltage grid because we utilize voltage divider circuit. Therefore, to calculate voltage grid or the amount of voltage supplied to the electric motor, we can use this formula. R1 and R2 is given and V measured, we can see V measured from the oscilloscope. This is my calculation, 11 divided by 1 and multiple by 29.6. 29.6 is the phase peak showed in the oscilloscope channel 1. That's why the calculation that we get also showed the voltage grid in peak. Meanwhile, if you want to get the RMS value, you just divided it by square 2. Move to second calculation. In the second calculation, we want to get the current flow to the motor. We measured in here is the voltage measured by oscilloscope at channel 2. But as I have already told you before, R3 is equal to 1 ohm. So that's why I motor is equal to the phase or voltage measured by the oscilloscope at channel 2. And the value is 6.4 or 6.4 ampere peak. And to get the RMS value, you just divided it by square 2. And then third calculation, we want to calculate for the phase angle. This is the formula. Tau divided by T multiplied by 360 degrees. And from the measurement, we get the time difference between voltage signal and also current signal is 3.2 millisecond. And because our signal is from the grid or PLN, that's why the frequency is 50 Hz or the period is 20 millisecond. That's why in here the period is 20 millisecond. 3.2 divided by 20 multiplied by 360 degree and we get this. 57.6 degree. And you can easily calculate the power factor because the power factor is equal to cos the degree or the phase angle, and we get 0.536. After that, you can easily calculate the real power, total power, and reactive power. In here, I didn't give you the formula because you have already learned it in the lecture. If you don't remember it, please see your lecture notes. But in this calculation, please use the RMS. Don't use the peak value because in order to get the real power, total power, and reactive power, you have to use the RMS value. The RMS value of the voltage and also the RMS value of the current. And finally, you can get this result as I show you in here. The real power in watt unit, total power in volt ampere unit, and reactive power in VAR unit. This is the third segment of Practicum Module 4. In this segment, we want to calculate the DC motor efficiency and also create the characteristic graph of the DC motor. The characteristic graph means torque versus RPM and power versus RPM. This is the laboratory apparatus that we will use in this segment. The first component is the regulated DC power supply. This is the DC power supply that we have already learned in Module 2. This is the DC motor that we want to test it, voltmeter and ampere meter. In this experiment, we will measure a lot of data. But basically, we want to get two kind of power. Input power or electric power and output power or mechanical power. For input power to the DC motor, it's quite easy because electric power can be calculated by voltage times by current. Both of the data can be measured directly by using voltmeter and ampere meter. But for output power or mechanical power, it's quite complicated. Mechanical power can be calculated by torque multiplied by omega in radian per second unit. But omega can be converted from RPM, and the RPM or the rotational speed of the DC motor can be measured by a tachometer. The tachometer that you have already used it in module 2 and also module 3. We can get the RPM and we can convert it to radian per second. And for torque, we don't have torque meter. That's why we will utilize this kind of mechanism. We have rotor, the black one in here, prism, and spring. Or you can see clearly in the diagram on your module. We have rotor, prism, and spring. Torque can be calculated by force multiplied by radius or rotor radius. Rotor radius is known in here, 18 millimeter. But for force, it should be perpendicular to the rotation of the rotor in here. Perpendicular, and it will be the friction force between the rotor and the prism. We cannot measure directly the friction force. That's why we have to utilize another mechanism in here, the spring. We can calculate easily the spring force, because spring force is K multiplied by delta X. K is known in here, 0.1 Newton per millimeter, and delta X can be measured it directly in our laboratory apparatus. That's why we will calculate the spring force and we project it to the friction force or F in here. And after we get the friction force, we can multiply it by radius and we get the torque. And finally, we get the output power or mechanical power. That's how we get all the data. Let's get the data. For the first data, we have to get the reference data, which means the friction is not occur, or the rotor is not contact with the prism. For the first condition, we get the data at 8 volt. Yeah, you see, it's around 8 volt. This is the first condition that we want to observe the DC motor. And the ampere is about 135 milliampere. The torque is 0 because there is no friction in here. And the RPM is 1200 RPM. Next data, I have already pulled the spring and give delta X is equal 5 millimeter. The voltage is remain constant because we still in the first condition, which is 8 volt, and you can see the current over here is about 215 milliampere, and the RPM is 873.9 RPM. For the rest of the data, I will show you in the table. And you should calculate the efficiency of the DC motor and also draw the DC motor characteristic graph, torque versus RPM, and power versus RPM. I will show you how to calculate the torque, power, and efficiency from the experiment data. From the experiment data, you know that the voltage is 8 volt, ampere is 215 milliamp, 873.9 RPM, and delta X is equal to 5 millimeter. From the module, you also know that the disc radius is 18 millimeter. Meanwhile, the spring stiffness is 0.1 Newton per millimeter. That's why for the first calculation, you can calculate the spring force, K multiplied by delta X. And then you can project it to the friction force, Fp multiplied by cos 20, because from the module, you also given prism angle is about 20 degrees. That's why you can calculate the friction force, and friction force times by this radius produce torque, and torque multiplied by omega is output power or mechanical power. In here, N in here is RPM. But to get the P or output power, you should convert RPM to radian per second. And finally, you can calculate for the efficiency or output power divided by input power. Input power is 8 volt multiplied by 0.215 ampere, not milliampere anymore. And finally, we get around 45% efficiency of our DC motor.